Russian leaders suspect terrorists in the North Caucasus are behind the Moscow subway attacks. Prime Minister Vladimir Putin lashed out at the militants, saying they will be destroyed.
We know that they are keeping a low profile now, but this is a matter of honor for the law enforcement agencies to dredge them out of sewer bottoms and into God's light of day. I am sure this will be done.
Chechen rebel leader Doku Umarov has claimed responsibility for the Moscow blast. He made an internet threat against Russia in January.
If Russians think the war is far away in the Caucasus, then praise Allah. We intend first of all to prove that the war will come home to them.
Russia fought 2 wars against Chechen separatism since the 1990s. The number of dead is estimated as much as 100,000 people. This has provoked a reaction among so-called black widows, women who lost a husband, father, son, or brother to violence and became suicide bombers. The Moscow Times reports women were involved in about 2/3 of nearly 40 rebel attacks that have killed 900 people in Russia since 2001. Black widows are suspected in Monday's explosions in Moscow. Many analysts question whether the Kremlin can carry out its threat to eliminate terrorists. Sergei Aratunyov, head of the Caucasus Department at the Russian Academy of Sciences, says such efforts may galvanize people and more blood may be spilled as some Chechen officials kill rebels to silence critics.
Rebels can cast light on dark deeds perpetrated by some representatives of special forces. They can cast light on corruption, etc., etc., and that is precisely what needs to be done.
The Kremlin, meanwhile, has installed leaders loyal to Moscow in the region, most notably Ramzan Kadyrov as president in Chechnya. Human rights groups accuse Kadyrov and his forces of carrying out abductions and extrajudicial executions to battle the insurgency in Chechnya. Government involvement is suspected in the unsolved July murder of Russian investigative journalist Natalia Estemirova, who sought to expose alleged kidnapping, torture, murder, bribery, and kickbacks by police, judges, politicians, and bureaucrats in Chechnya. In neighboring Dagestan and Ingushetia, government officials are also frequent assassination targets. Independent Russian military analyst Alexander Goltz says 2 recent wars, authoritarian leaders, and a heavy police presence suggest the screws in the North Caucasus cannot be tightened anymore. The only solution, he says, is the establishment of genuine institutions of government throughout Russia.
This means establishing rule of law, rejecting the idea of a police state, promoting separation of power, etc. These things seem like banalities, but they're the only way to create institutions which will begin, albeit with great difficulties, to do what is needed in the North Caucasus.
Little has changed since Russia conquered the region in the 19th century. Poet Taras Shevchenko of Ukraine, whose monument in Moscow stands opposite the offices of Prime Minister Putin, wrote about the turmoil. He began his poem about Chechnya, entitled The Caucasus, with the words, "Mountains beyond mountains shrouded in clouds, seated by grief and streaming with blood." It could have been written today. It was written in 1845. Peter Fedynsky, VOA News, Moscow.